Hello Ratbags, it's Jade Plays Games with an Anthem update. I know a lot of flack has come Anthem's way and I am not particularly impressed with the game overall. However, I have had a small amount of enjoyment from it and I can definitely see some promise. That said, lots of people are very much on the hate bandwagon. Of course, it's got lots of bad review scores and obviously it definitely needs improving. One big update is incoming in the next day. In fact, it should be live hopefully by the time you see this video, and it is the loot. Now I'm going to be discussing Anthem in an actual different way. I'm going to be comparing it to Destiny properly. You've probably heard it a million times. It's trying to do a Destiny. It involves Destiny. It's exactly the same as Destiny. But is it really? So look out for my Anthem versus Destiny video coming soon. But one thing I think we can all agree on, that looter shooters rely on their loot being rewarding, and that so far in Anthem hasn't been the case. Lots of people complaining that the inscriptions, which change and make up the way that your weapons react and act, as well as the rest of your gear, they just haven't actually matched what they should be doing or your character build. While they are random loot generated, it is definitely not in line with what you should be expecting, with many people complaining they're getting inscriptions for items and weapons that they never use. And not only that, inscriptions for your shotgun giving you a 10% ammo buff on an assault rifle. This is just a very loose example, but this is what's going to be changed in the update. The patch notes are pretty substantial. I'm going to go through them quickly. Here's what Ben Ervo, one of the producers for Anthem, had to say on Reddit. First of all, thank you for the feedback around loot drops. You guys said that the inscriptions were not useful to the items they're attached to. Players had to get so many masterworks of the same item to find a good one. And players want the frequency of masterwork drops to increase to help with the above, or they want us to change how masterwork inscriptions work so that they are more useful. So this is what they've actually planned, and this is the update that's going live either today or tomorrow. Inscriptions are now better for the items they are on. This applies to new items earned in Anthem, not existing ones in your vault. If an inscription applies only to the item it is on, gear icon, it will be useful to that item. Otherwise, the inscription will provide a javelin-wide benefit. For example, an assault rifle will not have the item-specific plus pistol damage inscription. It may have a plus electric damage suit-wide inscription, cool for a lightning build. Now that makes a lot of sense, exactly what I was talking about. If you're going to be using your assault rifle, you're going to suddenly get something that gives you a boost to a shotgun, which means you have to have your second slot as that item to really get the full use of it. It's a much better system if it's more element related, that the boosts are generally what you expect on your weapons. Removed uncommon white and common green items from level 30 drop tables. This was a highly requested change and we agree, so that's that. We've reduced the crafting materials needed to craft a masterwork from 25 masterwork embers to 15 masterwork embers. As you salvage a harvest, you should be able to craft more masterwork items to get the inscriptions you're looking for. Now that the inscriptions are more relevant to their item, this should yield better results for players. Now, some of this other stuff is pretty in depth, so let's just rattle it off quickly and I'll try and give you my understanding and what I think about it. Currently, there's a large pool of inscription options available to roll on items. The inscription pools are generic, e.g. weapons. Every masterwork item has 4 inscriptions: major primary, major secondary, minor secondary. Each item type now has a specific set of inscription options for each of their inscription pools. The pools are smaller and are targeted towards the specific item type. For example, there used to be a weapon pool. Now there is an assault rifle pool, and the assault rifle pool has 4 pools for each of the inscription types listed above. Basically, this means you're not going to get any more shotgun bonuses on an assault rifle masterworks. Primary inscriptions are focused on damage or survivability. Any item specific inscriptions, gear icon, will always benefit the item they are on. Javelin wide inscriptions, suit icons, will benefit damage or survivability across the whole javelin. Secondary inscription focus on utility and can be targeted to the item, the gear icon, or the entire javelin suit icon. So breaking that down, it looks like the primary inscriptions really are going to be about your damage survivability. So it will give you a buff, maybe it will give you like 10% increase to shields, and that will go on your javelin wide inscription as part of that pool. And then you've got your item specific items, your gear icon, which will give you that, 10% extra ammo for an assault rifle. Secondary inscriptions are just going to be on utility and the javelin itself. So they could be just a bunch of random stuff, but they still will be focused on the actual weapon you've got, particularly the utility item. So that is pretty good news, and in that one small change I think they're going to do a hell of a lot to encourage people to keep on playing through the endgame. I am yet to hit the endgame proper at the moment. I've been taking my time, I've been going through the story and completing some of the missions. I'm in fact about to live stream the final mission. But I already know, obviously from watching a lot of coverage and a lot of other YouTubers and streamers, that the loot is a significant problem. If you're going to repeat the same basic missions over and over again, we want to get that gear that's going to enhance that and give you different builds that you can build upon. So good stuff for Anthem. However, it doesn't take away the fact they're having a bit of a rough ride. Supposedly right now Anthem's price has just dropped on Amazon only 5 days after its release. Now while it's not a substantial amount, it is $8 less currently on the PS4. Lots of articles and YouTubers have been doing the hate bait that Anthem has sold 10% less than Destiny and 50% less than Destiny 2. It's a little bit odd that a lot of these news sites and a lot of the YouTubers that have covered it, like Layman Gaming, Upper Echelon Gaming, as well as Yongye, haven't actually done a bit more research. It says here Anthem topped the UK box office game sales chart during its first week of release, but with half the physical sales of bioware's previous game Mass Effect Andromeda. Now they get a lot of their data from the official UK chart. In January this year they actually changed it in the UK that the charts do in fact include digital data. So this idea that they've only sold half and it's because it's only the physical copies, I really do think a lot of these YouTubers and the people reporting this have just really not looked that much further. Desperate to jump on the bandwagon and jump and pile on the hate, which I do think it does need a little bit of criticism. The UK digital chart actually does list and include digital data. Now what it does not include is actually Origin store sales as well. It will include Xbox Live, PlayStation Network and Steam. The only one that this chart doesn't include is some publishers like eShop Data, Nintendo and Bethesda, as well as Konami. They're the ones that haven't agreed to their data being shared on these sites. And it doesn't always take some of the smaller publishers and developers games and put them through there as well. So you may see things like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds missing. But currently right now Anthem is number 1, beating out Far Cry New Dawn, which launched this month, FIFA 19, Red Dead Redemption 2, Metro Exodus, Forza Horizon 4, etc, etc. It is fun to jump on this kind of stuff and make a big video about it being horrible and it's a big massive fail, but that's simply not the case. Also, a lot of these news reports and the YouTubers have not disclosed that overall game sales are falling, particularly for these big game industry leaders. As much as we'd like to think that it's down to the fact that they're just making crap games lately, or we're sick of the microtransactions and so we're not buying it, it's not strictly true. It's mainly down to their share prices that have fallen, but sales are still pretty robust. The fact is, more and more people are playing live service games. Whether or not you consider it, Fortnite is a live service game, and many of these battle royale games are simply taking up everyone's time. So people aren't rushing out to buy the newest, latest looter shooter because they are still going to be playing the PUBGs, the Fortnites, and they just don't simply have enough ready time or cash to go and buy some of these bigger games. So I predict that at the moment gaming industry is maybe not making as much money as it used to, but that doesn't mean it's not making any money at all. It's just a small tiny drop. That's why they all want part of this live service, to generate more money, because it's the kind of thing that it's leaning towards. People are getting sucked into playing just one type of game more and more. It also accounts for why a lot of indie games are doing so much better, because there is that portion of people, me included, that don't want to just play one game over and over, and we generally look for smaller, more original ideas from companies that we know aren't necessarily going to try and just rip us off completely. Hence why games like Ark, Conan Exiles to some extent, and other games like Rust, particularly the survival genre, have done really well in the last couple of years, even though that genre is apparently dead. But you could also point to city builders and simulation games. Paradox Interactive recently just revealed its end of year sales data and it's made in record profits. Stardew Valley has made an absolute killing with sales. There are so many other games that aren't survival or looter shooters that are doing really well, and they are all smaller independent gaming. Anyway, I've gone off course a little bit, but I just want to clarify. Don't necessarily believe the first hate bait headline you see. Take a little time, delve deeper into it, and let's see if we can get some true accurate reflection of what's going on with Anthem. In fact, it's only a few weeks ago Eurogamer, one of the big outlets that are reporting this as newsworthy, actually talked about the fact that in the UK 80% of game sales are now digital. That is really high compared to other countries like America or Australia. So yes, comparing it to games 6 years ago, you're going to see a massive difference. And comparing it to a year ago, yes, you could actually still see a big difference. Now this report lists and details all of the games that sold last year in the UK, and these are only physical copy sales. As you can see, Fallout 76 really did not sell a lot, but that doesn't include the digital. Whereas now they do in fact include the digital as given by gamesindustry.biz from the direct federation of software, which basically governs the charts and how we collate all this data. So given that it's #1, given that it is half whatever it is or whatever clickbait YouTubers want to talk about, the fact is it has generated a lot of sales. People are buying Anthem, and people are definitely buying it a lot more than some YouTubers would make you believe. That doesn't mean I'm not going to suddenly become some sort of Anthem fanboy. I really enjoyed the demo. I thought the game was pretty good, but when I got into the full game and I started noticing how many issues and loading screens and problems, I really am not that happy with Anthem. But I do want to take another look at it, and I want to compare it to something like Destiny to really give it a good shot and see if we've actually come along in the looter shooter genre in the last 6 years. But there you go, just a little different view of Anthem from a different angle. Hopefully the update is going to change and bring a lot of people some happiness that they're going to be grinding for these items and they're going to be getting some decent results from it. If you have already been grinding a lot and you've already got a big stack of Masterworks, RIP, obviously they will not be changing. Let me know what you're thinking about Anthem, and stay tuned later on today for that last level with me doing it and checking it out, giving your opinion on what you think about Anthem. Make sure you like this video, keep subscribed, and I'll see you ratbags later on.